Hot take, I love when the main love interests in a romance have other romantic interests. Interests that make them discover things, realize things about themselves that eventually lead them to a more self-actualized place, which means they can receive this final endgame romance better than they could have before if they hadn't gone through whatever they needed to go through with those romantic interests. Some readers are very, very touchy to cheating to the point that they consider other romantic relationships outside of the main romantic relationship either very distracting to the point they won't read the book or pre-cheating, which is not a conversation I want to get into because what are we talking about? But I personally love, if it is relevant to the plot and if it is relevant to the character journey, seeing them have other romantic interests. This can be in the form of, fake dating, sex lessons, dating lessons, forced proximity. Any number of tropes actually really suit this dynamic. However, there is something to be very, very careful of. You have to walk a line very carefully to make sure the reader understands what you're doing. Ostensibly, if they're reading a romance and they've read the back copy, they know something of what's going on. They probably know the main characters that they should be rooting for, but maybe they don't. And maybe it's not in dual POV because dual POV is a tell immediately. Maybe it's in single POV or third person limited. At some point though, in the first half of the book, by the midpoint, I should know exactly who I should be rooting for. This isn't always the case with love triangles because the will they, won't they three-way of it all is something that readers really like about a love triangle. I'm not a love triangle fan, but that's just me personally. But if you have characters with romantic histories or romantic interests that are in the book, you need to make it clear without telegraphing why those characters aren't right for the main character or why the real love interest is right for the main character. Because it can get confusing really fast when you think you know who you should be rooting for, and then suddenly somebody else comes up and you're like, wait a second. The POV character isn't giving me enough information on how much I should be rooting for this version of the relationship. And that's really what it comes down to, rootability. You want to paint a picture or lay out a scene where the reader can root for the right couple. But they don't want to be pandered to, and they don't want you to feel like you don't trust them as the writer, which is why it is a very, very slippery slope. On one hand, you create a bad mystery and don't let the reader in enough. On the other hand, you're hitting them over the head with the true OTP. All of that is to say, do it. Just make sure you know exactly what it's adding to the story.